It was supposed to be an ordinary day in a small, peaceful farming town, where life moved at its own quiet pace. But everything changed when a gang of outlaw bikers roared into town, their motives as dark as the thunderclouds rolling in overhead. Their target? A young woman named Emily, a spirited and kind-hearted farmer's niece, visiting her uncle's ranch. The bikers thought she was an easy target, someone who wouldn't put up a fight. What they didn't realize was who her uncle really was. Retired Army Ranger Jack Tanner, known in his days of service as the Ghost, had built a reputation for being unstoppable in the face of danger. Now, with his niece's safety on the line, Jack's quiet life is shattered, and he's forced to unleash the skills he thought he'd left behind. As Jack gears up for the hunt, the question remains, will the bikers regret underestimating him? Jack Tanner wasn't the kind of man to talk much about his past. To the people in town, he was just a quiet farmer who kept to himself, fixing fences and tending to his livestock. But beneath that calm exterior was a man who had seen and done things most couldn't imagine. Years in the Army Rangers had honed Jack into a relentless, tactical warrior, and though he traded missions for mornings in the fields, his instincts had never dulled. Emily, on the other hand, was the light in his life. With her quick wit and warm smile, she brought a sense of family back into Jack's world. That's why, when he saw her empty car abandoned near the barn, something cold and sharp settled in his gut. Then he spotted the tire tracks, fresh, deep grooves heading down the dirt road, and new trouble had come to his doorstep. Whoever had taken her had no idea what they'd just set in motion. The bikers thought they had the upper hand as they sped down the empty highway, Emily tied up in the back of their van. They were loud, overconfident, laughing about their so-called easy score. Emily, though terrified, kept her wits about her. She had inherited her uncle's calm under pressure, and she wasn't going to let fear win. Quietly, she studied her captors, their faces, the way they spoke, the tattoos marking their ranks. She knew every detail might matter later. Back at the ranch, Jack was already in motion. He didn't call the police. He knew their response would take too long. Instead, he grabbed an old, battered chest hidden beneath the floorboards. Inside were relics of a life he thought he'd left behind, maps, tools, and his trusted combat knife. Meanwhile, tension brewed among the bikers. One of them, a younger member, began questioning their leader's plan. "This feels wrong," he muttered, his voice barely audible over the roar of the engine. It was a crack in their unity, one Jack could use to his advantage if he caught up. Jack saddled up in his old truck, his sharp eyes scanning the tracks fading into the horizon. Time was against him, but he wasn't about to lose Emily. What the bikers didn't know was that they were being hunted. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack drove through the growing darkness, his truck kicking up dust on the empty backroads. He had followed the trail to an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town, its looming silhouette casting long shadows in the moonlight. The tire tracks led right to it. Parking a safe distance away, Jack stepped out, his every movement deliberate and silent. He wasn't just a farmer now. He was the Ghost again. Inside the factory, the bikers were growing restless. Their leader, a burly man with a booming voice, barked orders, trying to maintain control. Emily was tied to a chair in the center of the room, her eyes scanning for anything she could use to escape. She caught the flicker of unease on the face of the younger biker, and a small spark of hope lit in her chest. Maybe not all of them were as loyal as they seemed. Jack circled the building, counting the entrances, noting the guards. He was outnumbered, but he had the element of surprise. Every sound, the crunch of gravel, the distant echo of laughter from inside, sharpened his focus. He slipped through a side door, moving like a shadow. As he edged closer to the main room, he caught sight of Emily. She was alive, but her time was running out. Jack's heart pounded, but his mind stayed clear. He was calculating, planning his next move. The biker still didn't know he was there, but that was about to change. Jack crept closer, his steps as silent as the night itself. From his hidden vantage point, he saw Emily subtly working her wrists against the ropes binding her. She was buying time, just like he had taught her during those afternoons on the ranch when they practiced knots and problem-solving for fun. But then Jack spotted something that made his pulse quicken. A second group of bikers pulling up outside the factory, their headlights slicing through the darkness. These newcomers were different. They carried themselves with a precision that felt military. Their gear was more tactical than the leather-clad chaos of the original gang. Jack realized the situation had just escalated. This wasn't just a kidnapping. There was something bigger at play. The leader of the first group greeted the newcomers with a tense handshake, their conversation too low for Jack to hear. But from the way they gestured toward Emily, it was clear she was central to whatever deal was unfolding. Inside, Emily noticed the shift too. The bikers had grown quieter, more focused. She caught snippets of their conversation, words like leverage and shipment. Whatever was happening, she was more than just a random target now. Jack clenched his fists, the weight of the situation settling heavily on his shoulders. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was a race against a plan he didn't fully understand. And the clock was ticking. Jack knew he had to act fast. The second group of bikers wasn't just there for Emily. They were finalizing a high-stakes exchange, and Emily was part of the bargain. As Jack positioned himself near the main entrance, he overheard their leader mention a payoff for insurance and keeping authorities distracted. It was clear Emily was collateral in a much larger scheme. With no time to waste, Jack triggered the first phase of his plan. A distant explosion echoed through the night as the truck he had rigged with fireworks and fuel barrels went up in flames outside. The sudden chaos sent the bikers scrambling. Jack used the distraction to slip inside, taking out two guards silently with precision strikes. Emily's eyes lit up when she saw her uncle appear from the shadows. With a quick swipe of his knife, Jack freed her. "Stay close," he whispered. Together, they moved toward the exit, but just as they were steps from safety, the younger biker who had seemed uneasy earlier blocked their path. For a moment, Jack tensed, ready for another fight, but the biker raised his hands. "I didn't sign up for this," he muttered, nodding toward the door. "Go." Jack hesitated, studying the man's face, then nodded and led Emily outside. They sprinted toward the tree line, but the factory suddenly erupted with gunfire behind them. The second biker group had realized what was happening and wasn't letting them go without a fight. Jack turned, ready to make a stand, but the younger biker emerged again, shouting, "Let them go. The deal's done." His defiance sparked confusion and disarray among the others, buying Jack and Emily just enough time to disappear into the night. As they reached the safety of the woods, Emily clutched her uncle's arm. "How did you know they'd turn on each other?" she asked, breathless. Jack gave a small, knowing smile. Sometimes all it takes is a little pressure to break the cracks wide open. But as they walked deeper into the darkness, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Somewhere in the chaos they'd left behind, a phone was ringing, a call to someone higher up the chain. This battle was won, but the war might just be beginning. As dawn broke over the quiet countryside, Jack and Emily finally made it back to the ranch. The once peaceful fields now seemed different, marked by the night's chaos. Emily, still shaken but safe, hugged her uncle tightly. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice trembling. Jack gave her a small smile. "Family doesn't need thanks. We just show up." Over coffee, Emily shared what she'd overheard from the bikers. hints of a larger operation involving smuggling and corruption. Jack listened intently, his sharp mind piecing together the puzzle. He knew this wasn't just a random event. Someone out there had set it all in motion, and they wouldn't stop now. For now, the ranch was quiet again, and Emily was safe. But as Jack looked out over the horizon, he felt the weight of what was coming. The fight wasn't over, it was only just beginning.